Maybe you are in your 40s, maybe you are in your 50s, maybe you are in your 60s, and when you look at your finances, you feel one emotion more than any other: regret. You may be thinking, I should have started saving earlier. I should have invested sooner. I should not have made those financial mistakes. I should not have gone into that debt. I should have built a business years ago. I have lost too much time. And perhaps the hardest thought of all is this: maybe it is too late for me. But today, I want to speak directly to that thought. It is not too late to become wise. It is not too late to rebuild. It is not too late to get out of debt. It is not too late to learn a valuable skill. It is not too late to save. It is not too late to create a new income stream. It is not too late to build a legacy. Now, let me be honest. You cannot go back and change the years that have already passed. You cannot undo every decision. You cannot recover every missed opportunity in the exact way you wish you could. But you can decide that today will not become another year you waited, because the truth is, you may be starting later than you wanted, but you are not too late to start. You are not behind God's purpose. One of the greatest traps in life is comparison. You look at someone younger than you who is investing, someone who bought property early, someone who built a business, someone who seems to be financially ahead, and you begin to punish yourself for your past. But comparison will not build your future. It will only steal the strength you need to begin. You are comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You are looking at their results without seeing their full story. You do not know what they inherited. You do not know who helped them. You do not know what opportunities they received. You do not know what sacrifices they made. And even if they did start earlier than you, their timeline is not your assignment. God is not limited by the age on your identity card. He is not limited by what you failed to do at 25. He is not limited by what you lost at 35. He is not limited by what went wrong at 45. He is not limited by the debt you have at 55. He is not limited by the fear you feel at 65. The question is not, why did I not start earlier? The question is, what can I faithfully build from today? Because today is still in your hands, and your future begins with what you do now. Moses was 80 when he began his greatest assignment. Think about Moses. For many years, Moses lived with regret, delay, and distance from the life he may have imagined. He grew up in Pharaoh's house. He made a serious mistake. He fled into the wilderness. He spent decades living far from the place he once knew. And then, at 80 years old, God called him at the burning bush. At the age when many people believe their greatest opportunities have already passed, Moses stepped into the assignment that would define his life. God did not say, "You are too old. You made too many mistakes. You have been in the wilderness too long. You missed your moment." God said, "I will be with you." That is important. Your age may change the way you build. Your responsibilities may change the pace. Your health, family situation, income, and energy may shape your strategy. But none of those things automatically remove your ability to begin. Maybe you do not need to build the biggest business. Maybe you need to build your first emergency fund. Maybe you need to pay off one debt. Maybe you need to learn one skill. Maybe you need to stop avoiding your bank account. Maybe you need to start a small service, consult, teach, sell, create, or solve a problem. Do not underestimate a small beginning. A small beginning can become a new identity. Caleb was 85 when he asked for his mountain. At 85 years old, Caleb did not say, "I am too old. I missed my chance. I should just settle now." He said, "Give me this mountain." That is powerful. Caleb was not pretending he was young. He was not denying his age. He was not comparing himself to the younger generation. He was declaring that he still had faith, strength, and a future. And I want to say this to someone listening. You may not have the same energy you had at 25, but you may have something more valuable now: wisdom, experience, perspective, relationships, resilience, lessons learned through pain. You know what does not work. You know what pressure feels like. You know which decisions you regret. You have lived long enough to recognize the cost of foolishness. That knowledge can become an advantage if you stop using it only to condemn yourself. Your life experience is not wasted. God can use it to help you make wiser decisions now. Your financial past is not a life sentence. Maybe you are not only feeling late, maybe you are feeling ashamed. Perhaps you have debt. Perhaps you made bad investments. Perhaps you lost money in a business. Perhaps you spent years earning but never saving. Perhaps you gave your time and energy to everyone else, but you did not build anything for yourself. Perhaps divorce, illness, family responsibilities, job loss, or a major life event changed your financial path. Please hear this. Your past may explain your current position, but it does not have to become your permanent future. A financial mistake is a lesson, not a life sentence. A late start is not the same thing as no future. A season of loss is not proof that God has abandoned you. You may have to rebuild more carefully than you would have built before. You may have to start smaller. You may have to become more disciplined. You may have to make peace with a slower process. But slow does not mean impossible. Small does not mean insignificant. And rebuilding does not mean failing. Rebuilding means you are courageous enough to begin again. Truett Cathy's story is a reminder that meaningful growth does not always happen on the timeline we expect. He began in the restaurant business earlier, but the first Chick-fil-A restaurant did not open until 1967, when he was 46 years old. His business became known not only for its food, but also for a values-driven culture shaped by faith, service, and long-term purpose. Think about that. At 46, he was not saying, "I should have done this at 25." He was building with what he had learned. He was applying experience. He was serving people. He was developing something valuable. That is a word for someone who thinks their age has disqualified them. You may be 45 and still have a business idea. You may be 50 and still have a skill that people need. You may be 55 and still have experience that can become consulting, teaching, mentoring, sales, a service, or a small business. You may be 60 and still have wisdom that younger people are willing to pay to learn. Do not assume that the door is closed simply because you did not walk through it earlier. Your experience may be the very thing that makes your next season valuable. R.G. Letourneau is another powerful example. He dropped out of school young, worked in different jobs, and started an earth-moving business at 32 with a used tractor, borrowed equipment, and a loan. He faced serious setbacks and financial pressure, but later became a major inventor and industrialist, and he eventually founded Letourneau University. His story reminds us, you do not need a perfect educational path to create value. You do not need to have avoided every mistake to build again. You do not need to wait until your confidence returns before you take the next step. You can begin with the skill you have. You can begin with the experience you have. You can begin with the contacts you have. You can begin with the equipment you have. You can begin with the time you have. Stop waiting for a perfect beginning. Start looking for a faithful next step. Now, let's make this practical. Starting from zero does not mean you have to make $1 million this year. Starting from zero means you stop living without a plan. It means you stop allowing regret to make your decisions. It means you decide, I will build something from here. Here is what I would do if I were starting over in my 40s, 50s, or 60s. First, face the truth without fear. Write down exactly where you are, your income, your expenses, your debt, your savings, your assets, your skills, your work experience, your available time, your health limitations, your responsibilities. Do not create a fantasy plan. Create an honest plan. You cannot build a future on numbers you refuse to see, but you can build a plan around the truth. And truth is not your enemy. Truth is where wisdom begins. Second, stop comparing and start calculating. Do not compare yourself to people who started earlier. Calculate what is possible from where you are now. If you can save $20 per week, begin there. If you can pay an extra $10 toward debt, begin there. If you can work an extra few hours, begin there. If you can learn a skill for 30 minutes a day, begin there. If you can reduce one unnecessary expense, begin there. You do not need a dramatic plan. You need a sustainable plan. The goal is not to impress anyone. The goal is to build momentum. Third, protect your foundation. If you have debt, start creating a plan to reduce it. If you have no savings, build a small emergency reserve. If your spending is chaotic, create a simple monthly plan. If every unexpected expense becomes debt, start setting aside something small for emergencies. The Ramsey baby steps begin with a $1,000 starter emergency fund, followed by focused debt payoff, then a fuller reserve of 3 to 6 months of expenses. While the exact amount should fit your country, income, expenses, and circumstances, the underlying principle is solid. Build stability before taking bigger financial risks. Fourth, turn experience into value. This is especially important if you are starting later. You may not need to begin from zero in every area. You may have decades of experience that can become income. Maybe you know administration. Maybe you know sales. Maybe you know construction. Maybe you know childcare. Maybe you know cooking. Maybe you know accounting. Maybe you know customer service. Maybe you know how to organize homes, offices, events, or businesses. Maybe you know how to teach. Maybe you know how to care for people. Ask yourself, what do people already trust me to do? What problem can I solve? What have I learned that someone else needs? Your experience is an asset. Do not bury it under regret. Fifth, build patiently. At this stage of life, you may feel pressure to catch up quickly. That pressure can make you take foolish risks. Please do not gamble your future trying to recover your past overnight. Do not invest in things you do not understand simply because someone promised fast returns. Do not borrow money to fund an image. Do not allow fear of being behind to make you financially reckless. Build patiently. Save consistently. Reduce harmful debt. Increase your skills. Create value. Protect what you have. Ask for wise counsel when you need it. You do not need to catch up with everyone. You need to become faithful with your own next step. The Bible speaks in Joel about restoration of the years that felt lost. That does not always mean God gives us back every dollar in exactly the way we lost it. But God can restore your wisdom. He can restore your courage. He can restore your discipline. He can restore your confidence. He can restore your ability to build. He can use your past to give you compassion for others. He can turn the lesson that once made you ashamed into a testimony that helps someone else avoid the same mistake. Maybe you cannot change the past, but God can still give the future meaning. And maybe your late start will become the story that gives someone else hope. Maybe your children will see you begin again. Maybe your family will see you face debt with courage. Maybe someone will watch you learn, save, plan, and build, and say, if they can start over, maybe I can too. That is legacy. If you are in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, do not close the book on your financial future. Do not let regret become your identity. Do not allow comparison to steal your courage. You may not be able to start at 20 again, but you can start today with the wisdom you have now. You may not have all the time you wish you had, but you have today. You may not have a perfect plan, but you can take one faithful step. You may not be where you hope to be, but you are not without hope. God is not finished with you. Your story is not over. Your financial future is not determined only by your past. And today can become the day you stop saying, I am too late, and start saying, I am beginning again. Say this with me. I am not too late. I am not disqualified by my past. I release regret over the years I believe I have wasted. I refuse to compare my timeline to anyone else's. God is restoring my wisdom, courage, discipline, and ability to build. I will begin with what is in my hands today. I will face my finances with honesty and peace. I will build slowly, wisely, and faithfully. My experience is valuable, and I can use it to create value for others. I am not finished. I am rebuilding. By God's grace, my next chapter will be wiser, stronger, and more fruitful than my last. Father, I pray for every person who feels late, behind, discouraged, ashamed, or afraid about their financial future. Thank you that you are not limited by our past, our age, our mistakes, or the years we believe we have lost. Thank you that you can bring wisdom from failure, courage from fear, and new purpose from seasons that felt wasted. Help us release regret. Heal us from comparison. Give us the strength to face the truth, make a plan, learn what we need to learn, and take the next faithful step. Show each person what is already in their hands, the skills, experience, relationships, opportunities, and wisdom they can use to begin again. Give us patience to build steadily, discipline to make wise decisions, and faith to believe that you are still writing our story. We declare that we are not too late. We are not disqualified. We are beginning again with courage, wisdom, and hope. In Jesus' name, Amen. If this content blessed you, please subscribe, leave a comment, and like this video so more people can be encouraged.